Sons of bitches. Got anything else to say? Now's the fucking time!
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Jake Brown Podcast. I am your host, Jake Brown. That's me. Appreciate you being here. I feel like it's a good show today. I mean, we'll see. Ultimately, you, the fans, are the judge, jury, executioner, perhaps, as to how this show is going. If you haven't done so already, feel free to go wherever it is that you consume your podcast content. I would love a 5-star review, but ultimately I would just love an honest review. If you feel it's 5 stars, awesome, 5 stars. If you feel it's 4 stars, all right. I mean, I'll take 4 stars. I would rather have maybe some constructive criticism, but I'm more than willing to live with a 4-star review. You know, whatever it is that I can do for you guys to make this show better, I'm more than willing to do. So whether it's Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube, feel free, give me a rating. I believe comments should be turned on everywhere. Leave a comment. If I see it, I'll do my best to respond. I don't always check that kind of stuff, and I don't have like notifications turned on or anything. I should probably do that. But I feel like I'm on my phone enough as it is. I don't need one more thing that I'm doing on my phone at any given point in the day. But if I see that a comment has been left, I'll respond to it. I will respond to it. Hey, good news. Today is my Friday. Oh, you can't hear? You can't? Yay! Yay! Yay, Friday for me. I'm taking the rest of the week off, going out to the beach. Oh my God. I don't even care that it's going to be cold out there. I'm just so happy to get out of town and not have to work, not have to really worry about doing anything other than just relaxing. I'm so excited. This is going to be Snoop Dogg, my dog, not actual Snoop Dogg, the rapper, but my dog, Snoop Dogg, who is in attendance today. Where's he at? I think, he's right here. He's actually sitting underneath my desk right now, just hanging out. It's going to be his very first trip ever to the beach. Ever. I'm so excited to see how he is going to respond. All the smells, all the sights, all the critters. He is going to have an absolute blast. I cannot wait to see it. And being a beach kid myself, I just honestly can't wait to get home. Anytime I'm at the beach, I just feel like I am home. I grew up on the Oregon coast, and I've really only lived away from the ocean for maybe a handful of years. And I don't really count even currently, like I'm on the Sound. Okay, we're on Olympia, Washington is on the Sound. I still get, minus the sounds of the ocean, breaking on the shore. I get all the shitty weather. I get all the smells. I still get all the annoying seagulls, which deep down I do love. So even though I'm not technically at the beach, this is about as far away / close to the beach as you can get being on the Puget Sound. Aside from that, I spent a few years, out in Palm Springs, out in the desert, which oddly enough, I really enjoyed. And then I spent some crazy year in Missouri, which, wow. I mean, look, no offense to people who live in Missouri. And if I have any listeners who live in Missouri, I would never live there again. Actually, one of my best friends that I grew up with, who was a professor at the University of Missouri, shout out Brad Kurz, he has been in Missouri now for, Jesus, like 20 plus years, 25 years. I don't know. It's been a long time that he has been in Missouri. All the time he keeps saying he's going to move back. He never moves back. His wife wants to move out. But for whatever reason, old Kurz keeps staying in Missouri. Not me. I left. I gave it 1 year. I was out of there on the first thing smoking out of Kansas City. Get me back to the West Coast. Thank you very much. Interesting year, though. I got to be honest. I almost died in Missouri. A little side note here. A little sidebar. I'll tell this little story. I almost died in Missouri. And oddly enough, this was the second time at that point in my life that I had almost died. Actually, the first time, I think I technically did die. I found out I had a severely allergic reaction to an anesthetic that was commonly used in the 80s. And when I had my tonsils removed at 10 years old, this anesthetic stopped my heart. So what was supposed to be like a relatively quick procedure, I remember waking up in the recovery room to a whole bunch of administrators wearing suits, and they all looked very, very stressed out, as did my mom. So that was the first time. I guess technically I died, but I don't really have any memory of it, other than just waking up and everyone being really stressed out. But this time in Missouri, I mistook an issue in my stomach that I thought was food poisoning, and this had gone on for many, many, many weeks to this point. And I thought I just kept getting food poisoning. And I went to the doctor that was on, our campus had like a clinic at the college I was at. And the doctor's like, we don't see anything wrong. They didn't, and this is like back in like fucking 1995. So, the tests that they did at like the little campus clinic weren't really all that probably thorough, at the time. I'm sure they're probably better now. But I remember him saying, well, we checked your blood and your cholesterol's a little high. But aside from that, everything looks good. And I was like, okay, well, I don't feel good. Kind of feel like shit. Kind of feel like I'm dying. To which the doctor said, you'll be fine. Just drink some water and, get some rest and, try to eat some food and, you'll be right as rain in no time. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see about that. So, by that point, I think we were probably 4 or 5 weeks into this ordeal. Fast forward a couple more weeks, I am now vomiting my guts out. There's nothing left in my body to vomit out. Nothing left to vomit out. It's just like this bile acid fucking substance that's coming out of the depths of my soul at this point. And I know you're asking yourselves right now, Jake, what the fuck does this have to do with motorcycle racing or, health? Well, it kind of does tie into health. So, just bear with me here. So it's like at this point, I had missed a whole bunch of school. I had just been losing weight, just pound after pound after pound after pound. And at that point in my life, I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. And I was losing what little weight I had left. I was literally like starving to death at this point. But I couldn't eat because I couldn't keep anything down. And I just felt absolutely awful. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on with me? And I remember I kind of reached, this is about maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks in to this, on again, off again, vomiting. I think I have food poisoning, and then I get better. And, anyone who is kind of tracking with what I'm putting down right now, you probably know where this is going. I got to a point real, I guess, either late one night or super early in the morning. It was like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was really, really bad. And I think that was the night I was probably going to die. And I remember I called my mom, and she's like, you need to call an ambulance. You don't need to be calling me right now. You need to be calling a fucking ambulance, and you need to get to the hospital. And I was like, well, this is how stupid I was, as a teenager, 19, whatever I was, 18 or 19. I was like, well, I'm not calling an ambulance that's going to then show up to the dorm rooms. Like, how humiliating would that be? For whatever reason, this was the fucking thought process that was going through my idiot caveman brain at the time. So I happened to have a friend who was also from Oregon, and I went and pounded on his door and woke him up, and I was like, dude, I need a ride to the ER. I go, something's wrong with me. I think I'm dying. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So he drives me to the ER. The ER doc, he did some blood work, and he's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but your white blood cells are, I believe he said, like, I don't know, maybe this is me just remembering, but not exactly remembering, something like double what they should be compared to your red blood cells, and you have some sort of serious infection in your body. I just don't know what it is, but I think I know. So just hang tight. He goes, but either way, you're not leaving this hospital tonight. And I was like, thank God. I don't want to leave the hospital because if I do, you just take me to the morgue, because that's literally my next stop at this point. So he comes back into the waiting room, and he has an ultrasound machine, and he goes, I just want to check something real quick. He goes, I think I know what's going on, but I'm not positive. And he puts like whatever the gel stuff is, like all over my stomach. And then he gets whatever the hell it's called that they put on your stomach, like when they look at babies and stuff in pregnant women's stomachs, and you can see inside. So he's looking around, and he goes, uh-huh. And he's like, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Huh. And I go, I'm like, fuck, doc, you gonna fucking tell me what's going on or what? And he goes, well, this area right here is where your appendix is supposed to be. And I go, okay. And he goes, do you see an appendix there? And I go, well, motherfucker, I didn't say that. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, motherfucker, I don't know what an appendix looks like. And he goes, hold out your index finger. And I look at my index finger. He goes, that's essentially the shape and size of your appendix. He goes, do you see that shape there? And I'm like, I do not see that shape there. And I go, wait, where? So if it's not there, where is it? What happened to it? And he goes, well, I don't know. He's like, let's look around. So he starts moving the device around, and pretty soon he goes, oh, well, look at that. There's a big chunk of your appendix resting on top of your bladder. And it was probably a good 6 to 8 inches away from where it was supposed to be. And then he finds another smaller chunk, and then he finds another smaller chunk. And apparently my appendix had not only ruptured, it had been ruptured for quite some time. It had worked its way away from its location and rested on top of my bladder, and literally just started to infect my bladder, and it was poisoning me from the inside out. And I was right. I was dying. I was literally dying. So at that point, I believe my appendix had probably been ruptured, or at least had been falling apart and slowly poisoning me for about 6 weeks at that point. I should have been dead. People die from having their appendix ruptured. People die from that. Maybe not like in the 21st century or the 20th century. I mean, probably in the 20th century. But like, that shit has killed people in the past. And how do I tie this into a quote unquote health related podcast? Well, I should have probably been a little more bullish on getting a second opinion. I probably should have just listened to my body as opposed to listening to some fucking quack doctor who really did half-ass tests and wasn't very thorough. Like, I think this kind of goes for anything related to our own bodies, okay? Nobody knows my body better than me. And by that, I mean, I can tell anybody maybe a symptom or what's going on, but ultimately, I know if something is wrong way before someone else is going to know. And that doesn't mean I can like name all the fucking, body parts, all the internal, like I don't know all the names of that kind of stuff. I don't know all the medical terms, all the fucking jargon, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I don't know that stuff. But what I do know is that when I have a problem in my body, 99% of the time I'm right. Even if some other doctor or someone else tells me that there's nothing going on and everything's good. Listen to your intuition. If you feel like something's wrong, go get another opinion. All right? Now, I'm not telling you this because I'm some sort of fucking medical professional. I'm not. I just feel like it's kind of common sense. If you feel like you are having an issue in your body and, maybe you feel like someone's blowing smoke up your ass when you present that issue to someone, go find someone who's going to listen to you. Take that shit serious. All right? And I definitely did not take that appendicitis very serious. Even though I didn't know what it was, I knew that me repeatedly getting food poisoning was probably bullshit. That's probably bullshit. I mean, yeah, there's like an outside chance that what I was eating was giving me food poisoning, but like 8-10 times over a 6-week period? Like, no, probably not. And I didn't really listen to myself. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't go get a second opinion right out of the gate. I just took someone's word for it. The first opinion I got, I just trusted him. And I fucking knew better. And what did it cost me? An 8-day stay in the fucking hospital, 3 of which were in the ICU. I lost 25 pounds total. That's a lot of weight to lose. But I gotta be honest. And this is gonna sound a little ridiculous. My abs look pretty fucking good when I walked out of that hospital. All right, it's ridiculous. You gotta, come on, I'm just kidding. You gotta make light when you almost die. Anytime you have a brush with death, you need to find the silver lining. So for me, my abs looked unbelievable. I could wash all my laundry on those motherfuckers. All the laundry. So, look, I guess that's how I tie this into my so far health-related podcast that has really shifted to MotoGP. Yeah, look, just listen to your body, man. Just be smart. Actually, this whole week, I'm off. I'm off from exercise, I should say. I'm not going to CrossFit. I'm not going to boxing. And I think it's not only as much as a physical break to just kind of let my body chill out a little bit, but honestly, it's just as much of a mental break. And I think I was due, usually a couple times a year, I will take at least a week off. If it's during a vacation, depending on what time of year it is, maybe I'll keep doing some stuff, push-ups, some air squats or running or something like that. But usually at least 2 times during the year, I just take a complete break from all forms of exercise, outside of like walking the dogs. That's it. That's really all that I do. And this week, I just kind of reached a point, the last couple months where I was just like, man, I just need a break. And I just kept pushing through. And, some days I'd feel real good, but then some days I just was not in the mood. And it was more just mentally, just kind of mentally. I just get burned out sometimes. And what I don't want to have happen, and, I think all of us, when we choose to make like fitness a lifestyle, that we're going to do until the fucking day that my last breath goes out of my body, I'm going to be doing some form of exercise. You have to play the long game. You can't just be 100% hard charging, 7 days a week, 365. Like you can't do that. You'll burn out. And I promise you will end up resenting fitness at some point, or whatever hobbies you have. If you get too obsessed, it's easy to kind of run yourself right out of that love that originally got you into it. So I think it's important to take breaks. Plus, it's good for your muscles. It's good for your joints. It's good for the bones. It's good for your mind. It's good to do. So, give yourself rest. Give yourself breaks here and there. I'm not saying all the time, but, once or twice a year, give yourself a week off to just fucking chill out, decompress. It doesn't mean that you start eating like crap. You're not doing that. Still be disciplined with your eating. But just let your body kind of chill out a little bit. Let your body recover. And yeah, you'll be sore when you go back for a few days. Whatever. You're going to be sore anyway. So what's a couple extra days when you get back into things of just being sore? You'll be fine. And ultimately, it's better in the long run. You'll see better gains, better results. You'll be sharper mentally, and you'll have a lot more lasting or staying power, in that activity that you are obsessed with. All right. Well, that's, I guess, my story. I wasn't planning on telling that. I don't even have that here in my fucking notes. Talking about how I almost died in Missouri. Now, is that the reason why I'm not going back to Missouri? No. That is not the reason I am not going back to Missouri. I'm not going back to Missouri, one, because I swear to God, like there's no water there aside from the Ozarks, and I have no desire to go down to the Ozarks. Two, when I got there in the summer that year, I got there in August, it was 115 degrees and like 9,000% humidity. It was insane. It was insane. I had never experienced humidity like that. Aside from being underwater, that is as close to being underwater as you can get without being in water. That fucking humidity was insane. No, thank you. No, thank you. And then I remember I asked some old lady. She worked on campus. She worked in the library. I was like, hey, I go, when is it going to cool off around here? I go, this is ridiculous. Like I would go through all my clothes in 1 week. Literally all my shirts, all my underwear, all my socks, all my shorts. I'd go through every piece of clothing that I brought with me in the span of a week because you're just constantly sweating through everything. And this lady, she goes, well, yeah, it'll be hot for a little while longer. And I was like, okay, well, when's it going to cool off? She goes, well, I mean, one day you're just going to wake up and it'll be cold outside. And I was like, what the fuck kind of forecast is that? That's not a fucking forecast. It's just one day I'm going to wake up and it's going to be cold. Yeah. One day you'll wake up and it'll just be cold out. And sure as shit it was. I swear to fucking God, like, I don't know, mid-September, toward the end of September, I just got out of bed one day and it was like fucking 45 degrees out. And then it just continued to get colder. Colder and colder. It hit freezing, and then it went below freezing. And then it hit 0. And then it went negative. And then it continued going negative. We hit 35 below zero. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's pretty fucking low. Okay? 35 below zero we hit that winter. You have got to be shitting me. You couldn't even have exposed skin. It would burn your skin on your face. I had to wrap my face in clothing because I had to walk to the fucking laundromat across this long field. And it was super windy. There were no trees anywhere. And that wind, if you had any exposed skin anywhere, I was not prepared for that summer, and I was definitely not prepared for that winter. I remember when it hit I don't know, as the winter finally fucking ended and we started transitioning into spring, the temperature hit 0, 10 degrees, 20 degrees. We were walking around in shorts and t-shirts. It's 20. I was like, you just get me out of here. This year has been crazy. This year has been crazy. So yeah. Am I going back to Missouri? No, I'm not going back to Missouri. I haven't even gone to visit Kurz. I've been telling Kurz I'm going to visit him for 2 fucking decades. I have not been to visit Kurz. Will I ever? I don't know. It might trigger my PTSD for Missouri. I don't know. We'll see. Probably not, but maybe. Never say never. I will never say never, and I try to say yes more often than I say no now in my old age. I try to say yes to experiences instead of just defaulting to no and then staying home by myself. Now I try to say yes because you never know when it's going to be amazing. But man, Missouri, that's a hard yes. It's a hard one. It's to be hard to say yes to Missouri again. I was very excited to transfer. I was very excited. All right. That's enough of that. Jesus Christ. I've already wasted 27 minutes talking about fucking Missouri and me almost dying. All right. Well, okay. Look, Jerez. I don't know what it is about Jerez. I have got to go there. I've got to go there. And I got it. My buddy Mallory, she's been on the show twice now. Mallory Dobbs. She got to go watch this past weekend MotoGP at Jerez. She's made some cool contacts and she got to do some behind the scenes stuff. And I got to be honest, Mallory, I was pretty fucking jealous. You look like you were having an absolute blast. I wanted to be there. I really wanted to be there. That looked like it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And do you remember the soap opera? I think this is I don't know, long time ago, 80s, 90s. It was called As the World Turns. Do you remember that? Do you remember that soap opera, As the World Turns? Me, myself, I was a Days of Our Lives fanatic. I used to watch Days. Days of Our Lives got me through college. I'm not exaggerating. I watched Days for 4 years. You would think that over the course of 4 years, a lot happened. No. Really, not a lot happens. Over the course of 4 years, I think the show progressed maybe 3 weeks. In soap opera time, a year is the equivalent of 1 week in soap opera time. 1 real year is 1 soap opera week. So, I mean, could I tell you? I remember Stefano got killed and then somehow he came back from the dead or some shit. It was fucking wild, man. It was absolutely wild. I was hooked on that show. I don't know how I got hooked on it, but I just got hooked on it and that was good. But As the World Turns, I feel like if MotoGP was a soap opera, it would be called As Marc Marquez Turns.
Had a pretty heavy crash yesterday morning. Well, He said he had to be aggressive. Oh no, Marc Marquez has crashed! Marc Marquez has crashed out of third place here in the Spanish Grand Prix. It is a second big mistake for Marc in 3 Grand Prix. He was 2.5 seconds clear when he crashed out of the lead in Austin about a month ago, and he has dropped the ball big time once again here. You could hear the moans, you could hear the groans from the Spanish fans in Barcelona and in Madrid. They cannot believe what they've just seen through turn 8. Marc Marquez goes, tries to pick up on his elbow, but he cranes into the gravel trap in a...
I've heard enough. Marquez! Why? Why? You're so much faster than everyone else that is out there. And I know, like, shit happens during a race, and he didn't get the best start. He was sitting in third at the time. I'm sure he planned on being out in front. But I feel like this season is going to be a case of the only person who is going to beat Marc Marquez is Marc Marquez. He's it. If he decides that he wants to win the world championship by riding smart and maybe at times riding even a little conservative, he'll run away with this championship. But if he decides that he wants to win every fucking race, no matter what, well, then this is what's going to happen. And we've seen it in the past. We're probably going to see it again later on this season. I mean, at some point, this isn't going to be his only crash out of a race. Shit happens. Shit happens in races. Like, it is what it is. But man, that's his home round. I was excited to see him, get a win in Jerez. And I'll admit it. Like, I'm officially a Marc Marquez homer, and I don't even care at this point. I appreciate greatness, and the fact that we get to watch arguably the best ever racer in his prime, now on the best bike on the grid. Like, I want to see that. I want to see it. Give it to me. Inject it straight into my veins. It's what I want. So kudos to him, though. I will give him credit. A lot of people, would have acted like a little fucking whiny bitch out there and just would have not picked that bike up and continued. But he fought back and finished. Not only did he finish the race, he scored points. He finished 12th. Okay? He finished 12th in that race after crashing out of third. I mean, it took him all of 25 laps to get up to 12th, and I think he made a pass on the last lap or the last turn almost to get that 12th. But kudos to him for at least finishing. And look, you never know. These points that he scored this race, okay, these could be extremely valuable points come the end of the season, depending on how things shake up. Because if he for whatever reason decides to maybe not ride conservative or to dial it back a little bit, and look, nobody expects Marc Marquez to dial it back a little bit. Like, that's just not what he does, And honestly, like, when he crashed, I just laughed. And it wasn't a laugh like, haha, look what you did. It was a laugh like, oh my God, like, of course you're pushing hard on lap 3, of a 25 lap race. Of course you're pushing. Like, why would you stay back and just let the race chill out a little bit? That's not what Marc Marquez does, And he's a fighter. He's an animal. He's a fucking beast, and he's aggressive. That's why he's the best that's out there. And it's not always going to work out for him. I tell you what, it made the race a little more interesting. And if you can't have one Marquez win, it was pretty cool that the other one did. So congratulations, congratulations to Alex Marquez. You got your first MotoGP victory. Talk about riding one hell of a race. You know, he rode one hell of a race. And I think any other time, and now MotoGP is doing this thing where you can vote for the rider of the race. And I didn't vote because I was watching the race on my phone at the time. But you can vote during the race for who the rider of the race is, as voted on by the fans, which is what I am, a fan. I am not one of the media. I am not one of the professionals. This is just me, my point of view as a fan, you know? I'm passionate about this sport, and I just want to talk about it. Yes, Alex Marquez 100% deserved to win rider of the race. He did. Did he win it? He didn't. Because I think the only other person who probably also deserved to get the rider of the race, Fabio Quartararo. And I got to say, it was so cool to see him get that Yamaha, not only on pole position, setting an outright lap record in the process. And yeah, like he crashed out of the sprint race. Like, who gives a shit? I don't, look, I care about the sprint race because I just want to see more racing. But really, the sprint race is a race for about 5 laps. And then after that, it's probably, this is just me speculating, after kind of, that 5-lap point, no one's taking huge risks. And I just kind of feel like teams are in kind of a data gathering mode at that point. They're just gathering kind of real live race, data for Sunday, which is the race that really counts. So yeah, he crashed out of the sprint. Whatever. It is what it is. Sunday was the one that counted, and the only person who probably rode a better race than him was Alex Marquez, only because he had that pressure of being out in front and having never won a race before, and it's at your home track, in your home country. Like, I could not imagine what he was feeling. I can't imagine what was going through his head, when he finally passed Fabio with maybe at the halfway point, and then he still had like another 12 or 13 laps to go out in front. And the gap, Quartararo didn't let Alex check out by any means. It was a 1.5-second gap, but Quartararo maintained that gap. Or maybe another way to look at it is Alex allowed that gap to stay at that point. He probably could have pushed harder. Quartararo was just riding out of his fucking mind, because not only was he, he's within shouting distance of Marquez. Marquez makes a mistake, Quartararo's right there. 1.5 lead, 1.5 second lead is gone if Marquez makes a mistake. If he blows a turn wide or something and runs it out to the rumbles or gets out on the green or something like that, Quartararo's on him, if not by him. Okay, 1.5 seconds is not a lot of time. So not only does he, he's pushing, trying to catch Alex, he has Bagnaia on his ass the whole time. Bagnaia was about 1 second to 1.5 seconds behind him. Okay, that kind of pressure, it's easy to make a mistake. And really, the top 4 guys, Vinales ended up kind of getting up there too. Those top 4 guys all rode one hell of a race. It was so much fun to watch. I was insanely, I'm a Yamaha guy. I'm Yamaha through and through. I love the blue. I've said 1,000 times, I love Yamahas. I raced R6s. I've raced an R1 before. I love Yamahas. I want to see them do well. Just like I want to see Honda do well, I want to see the other manufacturers, especially the Japanese manufacturers, get back up there. Get back up toward the front. Start fighting for wins, okay? Now, this track is kind of tailor-made for Yamaha. There's not a lot of long straights anywhere. It's definitely a tighter track. Passing is harder. If your bike does well in corners, which the Yamaha does, you can have success here. And Quartararo showed how good of a rider he is by not only breaking the outright lap record, putting the bike on pole, but then second place in the main race under a lot of pressure from Bagnaia, and really just a lot of pressure in general. He hadn't been on the podium in like 2.5 years. That's a long time. That is a long, let me say it again. That's a long time, especially for Quartararo. He has won a lot of races in MotoGP. He's a world champion in MotoGP. This step back that Yamaha has taken the last few years has been rough on him. He could have jumped ship too. And kudos to him for not doing that. He's like, fuck it. I'm staying with Yamaha. We're going to get this figured out. And, Yamaha, they have got things turned around. They are headed in the right direction. According to all reports, the test they did the following Monday, both him and Alex Rins were about a half second faster with the new engine, not the V4, but it's just a new engine. It makes more power. It makes more usable power. I think that's important. The M1 always seemed to make power. I think one of the complaints was they couldn't get the power to the tire, to the ground. They were always spinning the rear up. And that is not the fastest way to get around the track. It might look cool, if you're trying to show off, but if you're trying to win races, and that's what the Ducati does so well, it uses the rear tire grip to the maximum. And Yamaha was just not able to do that. And whatever they're doing now, they're on to something, and it's working. And the Yamahas are creeping forward. Alex Rins, I still don't think he's where he should be, but he finished 9th. He got a top 10. Okay. That's great. That's great for them. Jack Miller crashed out, but he's got good pace on that bike when he stays on it. As long as he stays on it. We need him to stay on it. I fucking love Jack Miller. I want to see Jack Miller stay in MotoGP, so I want him to be successful on this Yamaha so that he can be a part of this kind of, the rebuilding of that brand. I want him to be a part of that. And I love that he's, on the Pramac team. I want him to stay there and keep and helping keep develop that bike. I don't want to see Jack Miller somehow crash his way out of the series and end up, in World Superbike or, don't get me wrong. I would love to see, I'd love to see him in World Superbike as long as I get to see him racing. But he is the kind of personality who needs to be in MotoGP. He is what MotoGP needs from a personality standpoint. He's funny, he's charismatic, he's one hell of a rider, and I don't want to see him out of this series. So I want him to stop fucking crashing and to start getting some good results. So look, I was happy that Alex Marquez won. I was extremely happy that Quartararo was able to have the success that he did, with the lap record, the pole position, and then finishing on the podium in second. The Hondas, Luca Marini finished in 10th. Zarco 11th. Joan Mir crashed out, but he was running in the top 10 when he did. He just needs to stop crashing. Acosta's looking better. DG in 5th. Brad Binder in 6th. The KTMs, they're getting better. They've all essentially gone back to the 2024 bike. And whatever they tried with the 2025 bike, it was not working. And now it seems like they're all starting to find their pace again. Iagura in 8th. And these guys, they're a little ways off the podium. They by no means were they fighting for the podium, but they're going to get there. I'm really optimistic that they can get there. maybe I'm not like super optimistic, but I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that these guys, I think Acosta, I think Vinales, DG is going to be fighting for podiums. Morbidelli crashed out, but he has already scored podiums, the last couple rounds. And then we just need to get those Hondas up there a little higher. Zarco's already had a top 4. There's no reason that he can't be fighting for podiums. I'm bummed out that Marquez crashed, but that door closed and it opened up the door for everyone else to have a great race that weekend. And they're in France next weekend, and I cannot wait for that. I'm hoping the weather cooperates. I feel like it always rains there, so hopefully there's no rain and it stays dry. But either way, I'm going to be watching. Look, I want to give a shout out because, yes, I do my own research depending on what it is that I want to talk about, and I watch these races and I listen to interviews, and I follow a lot of these racers, social media, so I can kind of see behind the scenes about what's going on. But 2 good podcasts that I listen to that are absolutely fantastic for getting information, and I need to give both of these shows credit because I am influenced by them. These guys are the professionals. These guys are the journalists. These guys put in the legwork that schmucks like me either can't or just don't want to. And I wish I could, but I'm just not in a position that I can live that life. I don't know, maybe I could, but it would just drastically change things for me, and I enjoy what I'm doing right now. Podcast number 1 that I listen to is the Paddock Pass podcast, okay? It's hosted by this group of guys, Steve English, Neil Morrison, David Emmett, Adam Wheeler, and old Gordo, Gordon Ritchie. These guys are unbelievable. They not only talk MotoGP, they talk World Superbike. They interview tech people, and by tech I mean like guys who are the engineers. They interview crew chiefs. They interview the riders. They interview people in the business aspect of MotoGP. Their insight is absolutely golden. And especially for people like me, I can consume what they say, and it helps me kind of confirm maybe some of my theories that I might have. By no means am I just plagiarizing the shit that they say. I have my own opinions. I'm a former racer myself, obviously not at that level. But, I have my theories and my thoughts about, why maybe races turn out the way they do or why maybe teams do certain things they do. But these guys are the pros, and these guys know their shit and they know what they're talking about. And I get so excited whenever I open up my, I listen through Apple, my podcast. And whenever I see that there's a new Paddock Pass podcast, I'm like, oh my God. And I get all excited because I know it's going to be great content. And it doesn't matter which combination of those guys is doing the show. It's always going to be good. It's always going to be good. So if you're looking for like actual, journalists who are in the paddock, who are behind the scenes, who know these riders, who know these crew chiefs, if you're looking for that kind of information, I cannot recommend the Paddock Pass podcast enough. The other podcast that I listen to that I get some amazing information from is the Oxley Baum podcast. Matt Oxley and Peter Baum. Matt Oxley is a former racer. He's been a journalist for probably 25 years, 30 years or something. Peter Baum, he's been a crew chief. He's worked in MotoGP. He's worked in World Superbike. Now he kind of just picks and chooses projects that he wants to do from a crew chief standpoint. He is all things tech knowing when it comes to motorcycles. There's nothing he doesn't know about motorcycles and the electronics and the data aspect. Listening to these two guys talk, and again, just like with the Paddock Pass, They have access, to be able to interview people that I could only dream of interviewing, and they get to talk to these guys and they get to pick their brains. And, some of their content, and both these podcasts, some of their content is subscription based, but the majority of what these guys put out through their podcast, it's just available for any Joe Schmo, any schmuck like me to come along and listen to and absorb. And then, I can then form my own opinions. And I cannot recommend the Oxley Bomb podcast enough, as well as the Paddock Pass podcast enough. Give both of those a follow. Give them a listen. I promise you will learn something. You won't regret it. And, if you just... I think, as is the case with any sport and anyone that's talking about any sport, if you're passionate about that sport, it's going to show in how they present the information. And that's what I try to bring to my show, is a little bit of passion, a little bit of enthusiasm. Like you can hear, man, I get fired up when I talk about MotoGP, when I talk about World Superbike, when I talk about boxing, when I talk about things that I love. Like I hope that comes through the microphone and into your ears, okay? And I get that from the Paddock Pass podcast and from the Oxley Bomb podcast. That you will get that as well. These guys are great, so give them a follow. They're on any platform, wherever you consume your podcasts, the Paddock Pass podcast and the Oxley Bomb podcast. All right? Uh-oh! We know what that means. That means it's time for me to start getting packed up. I gotta get ready to go to the beach. I got a bunch of LaCroix. I bought some cookies. Today is 1 month that I have not consumed cannabis. So my goal was 1 month. I have now hit 1 month. I might keep it going though. I feel great. Man, these dreams I've been having. When you quit cannabis, the dreams you have are crazy. And I've been having some crazy dreams. But I'm actually kind of digging them. So I want to see how crazy they can get. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Enjoys their weekend. World Superbike is in Cremona. Check out the Women's World Championship. Mallory Dobbs is racing. Hope everyone has a great rest of the night. And that's it. I'm out.